back to Gallant Conversations, and gosh, it's round two for us, Eric.
Round two.
You were on one of our first episodes, talking about like navigating the lunar space economy. I can't remember the title, but I mean, you can go through the playlist and figure it out.
Yeah, it was like navigating Earth and lunar
uh,
economies. Yeah,
sure,
mining.
cool. But yeah, no, it's great to have you here, man. How are you doing?
Thanks.
How are you liking Houston? You're here for a short stint.
Doing good. Well, you know me. I drop into Houston here and there. So
Yeah.
and lately it's been in and outs. So I mean, I'm here for 24 hours and then I'm out. So, but
Coming
yeah, it's
from
been
San
good.
Antonio.
Yeah, it's not too far of a drive, and love the city and its people. So
We should really consider EVTOLs, right?
yeah, well, I mean, there's been all that discussion about that vertiport over.
Yeah. Y'all
in-
have one kind of getting ready to, right? I just had Stephanie on with Stephanie
Yeah,
Garcia
yeah.
with Port San Antonio.
Yeah.
Y'all got the plans.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen. I think the Jim Pershbach, who's I think
Yeah.
the CEO of Port San Antonio, he made some statement the other day. I didn't get to read too much of it, but it was talking about like integrating that plan into the wider city and how those routes will actually exist, and I guess how they're going to collaborate with the FAA for all that, which is pretty cool. I mean, obviously that's city focused, but
You're seeing it widespread around the state. I mean, Houston,
Yeah.
GHP, they're talking about it. Whisk is a company that they're saying would be the, I guess, do you call it aircraft or
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's aircraft.
aviation, I guess?
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I'm not really in that space,
Yeah.
but like I'm all about it.
Well,
right?
we're just,
I mean,
it just, if we can
it's
bring
the Jetsons, right? That's
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen these like articles and these posters and stuff. It was like we were promised the Jetsons, but we got like Google or something, And it's like, yeah, that's true. I mean, Google has many uses, and the internet obviously has many uses. That's I think been fairly helpful. Obviously, you can go into debates about everything about the internet, but doesn't mean that the Jetsons are never going to happen. Maybe it was just a little bit later than we thought.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So, yeah, we got a whole new setup here.
I like it.
So we're not doing the desk and the chairs. We're kind of throwing some stuff, paying homage to space with the whole cool little thing in the back.
Yeah,
and
we
all
see
that stuff.
Mars.
So new feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's Mars. I don't know.
Looks like
It's kind
Mars
of
to me.
big
Yeah.
in comparison to the rocket. No, I mean, like, shoot. I guess whatever. No. So I mean, we're like, yeah, EVTOL, that'd be great, dude. Because then we could just kind of pop in from San Antonio to Houston, Austin, Dallas, and then the rest of the country can kind of follow suit. And
Yeah.
then internationally too. I mean, I'm not saying we're taking EVTOL across the Atlantic anytime soon, if ever. But
Yeah, but I mean, just interconnectedness,
Yeah.
right? Shortening times to. I mean, when I drive from where I live here, it could be 3 to 4 hours, right? And I mean,
traffic.
that's a chunk of time. Yeah, you get in
Construction.
traffic, and that adds
Flat tire.
a
You got a flat tire?
Yeah, I got a
on the
flat
way.
tire, so
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that sucked. But yeah, I mean, things like that. You get a flat tire, boom, 30 minutes or so is added on. Some people obviously could be longer,
Yeah,
but
just depending on how quick you are with it.
yeah.
With a Tesla, you don't have a spare, by the way, so you're sitting there for a little while.
Is that true? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I had a flat tire recently as well.
Oh, no, that sucks.
All around. But
Yeah.
yeah, so okay, I mean, like, dude, let's just like by way of background, right? Like, we know each other for about 4 years now, and we connected on the space side of things. We can dive into like the background and what we had done and accomplished together later. But I mean, you're in the realm of governmental affairs policy, if you will. Well, there's a lot of action happening.
Yeah.
But like internationally speaking, I mean, like, because last we spoke, Jared Isaacman didn't go up. Now he's up there, came back down safely. All
Yeah.
that bit. International stage with space and defense. I mean, like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of involved in that space. I do research here and there. I've been an adjunct at the Rand Corporation and completing my dissertation for my PhD in space policy and predominantly strategy. And I don't really work in that space anymore. I have my own company and focused on that stuff. But at the end of the day, I still keep up with it. I still kind of read into the circles. When you're looking at the current state of international relations in space. I would say that it's not the greatest. It wasn't the greatest even on our last conversation, and that's predominantly due to the factions that are arising. Right, you have the Chinese-Russian aligned faction, and then you have the Western faction.
Yeah, and let's just you don't just do the RAND Corporation. You're also on the board of Space Force Association, representing the Space Force, United States Space Force 6th branch. So, a little context there.
Well, that's important context. Yes, so I do sit on the board at the Space Force Association.
And you get exposed to some of this stuff.
I do. I'm very frequently around. I mean, just a few days ago, I was in Austin at a national security, space and defense summit that the ROTC units put on. It was great, and
was Klein High School there?
No, this was a university ROTC level, so not junior ROTC. A&M. Although that would have been great to have them. Yeah, A&M was there, UT was there, Baylor. Pretty much most of the Air Force ROTC units around the state were there, and then I think they had some people from outside. Awesome. But they hosted it and brought in some Space Force leaders, people who I've worked very closely with and gotten to know over the years, like General Purdy, for instance, who's now in charge of space acquisition for the Space Force.
Where's he located?
He's out of D.C. now, but he originally was over at Patrick Space Force Base. He was commander of the 45th Launch Delta, so that's in charge of all the Cape Canaveral launches and stuff.
Okay. When did he switch? When did he make those recent?
I think it was about a year ago.
Gosh,
it's fairly recent.
I mean, all that launch demand. I had Sean Graham on Earthlight, and we were talking about some stuff. And
he was dealing. I mean,
Carmen Line, I should say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the launch demand in Florida has just steadily increased.
Practically tapped out at this point. There's so much demand, and
so General Purdy was kind of navigating all that.
He was navigating that.
Top a bunch of different other things.
Yeah, and so he's kind of shifted, of course. Now he's looking Space Force wide at acquisitions, and he gave a really great presentation that kind of went into the international relations space that we were talking about, right? Which was and how that then relates, of course, to everything else going on in the Space Force. I mean, especially acquisitions, of course, because that's what he's in. But when you look at the state of how states are interacting in the domain and how it's looking for a development standpoint, I think for the economy and for commercialization, it's looking great. I do think that when I say commercialization, you have buckets, right? You have the buckets of people and companies that are really interested in some cool but pretty far out,
We talked about that last time.
Yeah, we talked about that, right? And they're in one bucket. I'm not so sure that they're going to be making it through, to the end. But then there are others that are developing out some really interesting capabilities that have a lot of national security aligned potential, and then also, just to get certain capabilities into various parts of the space domain. So, for instance, right, I actually think we're going to be at the Firefly landing, right, this upcoming Saturday. So
from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m.
Yeah, 3 a.m. Maybe 4 a.m.
Great time.
Right? yeah, it's going to be awesome. We're going to get no sleep.
Hopefully the drinks are flowing, right?
Hopefully so.
Or coffee or something, whatever you're into.
Yeah, actually, at that point, I think you're just going to need to have constant coffee.
I was at a dinner last night down at Clear Lake, and they were doing espresso old fashions.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what the heck is that?
You get both, right?
I didn't do the espresso part, but I just give it old fashioned.
Yeah.
Okay, but all right, I interrupted you, but
no, it's okay.
So we're talking about the international bit of it, right?
Yep.
So you're saying some factions are kind of coming and unfolding or what have you. What I've noticed also is there's a lot of companies out there that I see in Australia or Italy.
Yep.
And they're impressive technologies and companies in their own right, but they also kind of duplicate some of the things that were being developed here stateside. And, these Italian, Australian, French, God, you name it, anywhere in the EU, so on and so forth, they're looking to relocate here or to the United States and get some U.S. government contracts and all that stuff. So, what's your take on that? Was that mentioned at the thing down in...
Slightly. It slightly was. And, that actually kind of that segues into what I was already kind of discussing, right? Like, when I mentioned Firefly, we're going to see it land, right? That's the kind of technology and capability that influences those companies from those places to try to move to the U.S., right? So for anybody watching, if they don't know, Firefly has a lander called Blue Ghost that's going to touch down on the surface of the moon. It's a commercial company. It can then deliver payloads to the surface, right? So obviously that means that you're going to have the potential to, sell this service to customers, right? Same thing with Intuitive Machines.
And like the date of this recording, Wednesday, February 26th, Intuitive is landing tomorrow?
Yes, I think.
Or are they launching tomorrow?
I think they're landing.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
I don't know, but like
again, right? Like
that's
I used to be always on top of every tiny
Yeah.
little thing. I mean, I follow it and I am, but I can't remember the exact times. Yes. So to that point, right? That's another company. I will say both of these are Texas companies, which is awesome.
Amen, hallelujah. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeehaw. That's what we
don't
say.
mess with Texas.
Yeah. So Intuitive Machines, same capability. They are developing a lander that can get to the surface. I think theirs has a slightly larger payload capacity
Same
compared
Intuitive?
to Firefly. Yeah, and they're both going to land, right? And they're going to land within a few days of each other.
That's wild.
It's wild. Like that's actually wow. Multiple. I mean, and to remind people, like that's capitalism. That is two companies competing in the marketplace to try to get the best product out there.
So, yeah, and we were in a group chat with some groups. We had a little Space Cadet group chat.
Yeah.
Shout out to those folks. But what was it? We were talking about the national security implications of space.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that finally is an example of trade routes being developed out to the cislunar economy, right? Yeah. There's no trade, there's no manufacturing happening on the lunar surface, but it's
providing you access,
and it's an access point.
And
right?
that's also that means that that if you're sending a Blue Ghost or an Intuitive Machines lander right to any of those like a Nova C lander right to any location on the moon right, I mean it's going to have to travel a fairly long distance. That can come under threat, right, by an adversary. If they don't want you to access a specific area, if they don't want you to, and at the end of the day, you might hear people say, well, there's mechanisms in place to prevent this from happening. There's the Outer Space Treaty.
No,
I mean,
I don't know. Is that really actually something that would protect?
No, I don't think so. But then again, I fall in a different camp of thought on this, right? So some people would say, Eric, you're completely wrong. And I would say, well, here's some Earth-based evidence, right? Like,
what is the Earth-based evidence?
Yesterday's a perfect... Thank you for asking, James.
Yeah.
Yesterday's a perfect example. So, yesterday, what day is it?
It's the 20th.
February 26th.
Yeah.
It was February 25th. Chinese fishing trawlers came into Argentinian naval areas, right? And so they actually
what are they doing over there?
Yeah, right. That's actually a pretty long distance, right? And they were
Atlantic or Pacific side? Or wait,
I'm fairly certain it was on the South Atlantic side. So they had come around. And yeah, I mean they were fishing in Argentinian territory, right? And the Argentinian Navy deployed its vessels, tried to get them out, and they didn't want to leave, right? And so like this is the point that I try to bring up with people is, at least with China, they have consistently violated multiple international treaties and laws that we consider customary.
So that's the Earth-based argument to...
If they do that on Earth, what is stopping them from doing it in space? And
even with treaties established in place.
Even with treaties
and
established
how do you enforce that in space when in...
It's much harder to enforce it there. We have naval ships that can, of course,
protect
trade
routes.
That protect trade routes.
And that help. Okay, so what was the thing that we were talking about in the group chat? It's actually a good thing to bring up in terms of the international perspective. We were talking about naval war vessels and stuff like that, like
being a national security,
bit, and you know, in my mind, the Navy helps maintain the value of the U.S. dollar, right, in terms of protecting the trade routes and ensuring safe passage.
Mm-hmm.
You can't make that. In my mind, you can't make that same argument with space yet. Because
the Space Force doesn't have that capability.
First off, you don't have the capability of warships or submarines or aircraft carriers. Secondly, you're getting there. But secondly, there's no manufacturing and trade actually taking place lunar. Yes, you can make the argument in my mind. with satellite communications
Yeah.
and financial institutions and protecting data and all that bit. But like, we're not at the point where we're making iPhones on the freaking lunar surface right now and then bringing it on down, right?
And it might
Like,
be a long time before we do that,
well,
right?
iPhone for sure.
There,
Maybe helium-3 first. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I think
That's still
when it does come to in-space manufacturing, I see how it can certainly help humanity and the Earth. Don't get me wrong. I think due to a multitude of factors that we could spend hours and hours, I could write a book about it. People could write books about it.
There's probably already a book out there.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, there's multiple books. I hold the. We've talked about this before. I hold the vision. I care. Like, I see it. I want to see.
What vision do you have?
The vision of commercialization of the cislunar economy, right? Like, I totally believe it's going to happen. Timeline wise, I think we're already seeing some more realism entering the chat, so to speak, because we've already blown past multiple dates on when we were supposed to send humans back. Like
2027 is not happening.
2027 is not happening. Like, it's going to happen. When is a question, right? And we're probably going to see some things in our lifetime. I wouldn't say that we're going to see entire cities on, other
like
planetary
Jamestown
bodies
or whatever on For All Mankind or whatever.
I think we could see a significant, actually, facility. I mean,
on the lunar surface.
Yeah, I think that on the lunar surface,
not Mars.
By the time that I'm dead, I'm sure that there will be a significant facility that could be called a town almost on the moon, and I do think that we will have reached Mars and started some initial exploration
so like 50,
of the surface.
60 years from now.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
like,
no, we need to position
ourselves. People said at World War II, there were those dreamers that said, "Oh, well, by the '80s we're going to have all this stuff," and of course we've made shows about it, right? For All Mankind that's a perfect example. You go watch that and you're like, okay, yeah, what could have been, right? And each decade we're like going somewhere else, right? It's awesome.
Is there a better recent TV show or movie that best depicts? I mean, like, I was trying to go through that because I'm always looking for something new to watch.
Yeah, I actually think For All Mankind's best.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
and I've watched most. I'm not gonna say I watched it all because someone would probably be, "Gotcha, you haven't watched this one." But
yeah.
Considering like newer shows and films, I would say that For All Mankind is like spot on practically. I mean, it's not perfect. There's some things in it that you're like, yeah, okay, it's dramatic.
Well, and it was all based on the fact that like the Soviets beat us to the lunar surface. So
there was a geopolitical element, which we were kind of talking about earlier, and to answer one of those questions you asked was like, all these international companies wanting to come here. That's the point, right? Like, we've invested in technologies here in this country like Intuitive, like Firefly. We've created a space force. We're invested in pushing that domain, right? And developing that domain as much as possible. Companies in countries that are generally allied with the United States recognize that, and they know that the industry, the economy, the backing here is stronger, and so that's why they want to come, right? And that feeds into that competition, right? Because it's like, okay, that creates deeper ties between those countries, and of course that beefs them up with their capabilities and their technological development, continuing a race, so to speak, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that like to say, "Oh, don't say space race," and it's like, I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, yeah, it's a race. There's arms races, there's tech races. The point is that, if, let's say, China wins or the U.S. wins, don't stop the development, right? And historically, what we've seen, right, predominantly the U.S. and the Soviet Union, when the Soviet Union fell, the U.S. kind of, stopped a lot of its hard tech development when it comes to hardware, right?
Do you see
that kind of shifted,
accelerating forward,
like hard tech development
stuff? I mean, you're I mean, we'll talk about TerraSpace later, but I mean, like, VC venture capital right now, I mean, they're kind of in a hot seat, right?
They absolutely are.
Yeah. We don't have to get into details on.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really 100% articulate the issues pertaining to it.
I don't think anybody can.
But yeah, they're in the hot seat. I mean, like, do we think that with all these things, geopolitical tensions, or just the need to innovate and develop out new technologies to support not just a space, but Earth-based.
Yeah, I think, yes. I think it will continue. I think you're going to see a shift in what kinds of technologies and companies are getting invested in. I think you're already starting to see that a little bit with like, okay, we're going to try to go for things that are a little bit more tangible, little less for the super pie in the sky visions, which are fun. Don't get me wrong, but like they haven't made enough returns for most of those investors, right?
Well, one of the biggest things that I see over here at Gallant is just like I mean, a lot of our client portfolios, and we've been around for 20 to 25 years. It's energy chemicals, right? And
Yeah.
with the rise of AI and internet and electricity usage and stuff like that, data centers powering them.
Yeah.
Like we got to get that figured out pretty damn quick.
Yes.
Because like there's, if not already a shortage, will be a shortage in terms of energy supply.
Yeah.
Based off of the fact that we do not have the energy security and the democratization of energy to support our usage. Like there's like the fun little stat, right? It's like a Google search is 0.3 kilowatt hours, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and then like Chat GPT is like 150 kilowatt hours
it's
per
a lot.
search or per query. I bring that up a lot, but like we need that hard tech solution to kind of support that, and it's
I think that's where you're going to start getting more serious, right? Investments. You're going to look at things that are bringing direct value into the supply chains. Are you getting the right materials, minerals, for instance? And of course, we can. We'll do a segue. We'll do a segue in there, right? Like, are you getting the right materials, minerals? Where are you getting your energy? Where are we investing energy in? Or like, what kind of energy companies are we investing in, and energy tech are we investing in? You're going to see, and you're already seeing it, kind of in mass. You're starting to see the sway away from solar and wind. You are seeing increased interests in nuclear companies, right? Nuclear is getting investment. Geothermal is...
Yeah, we're major geothermal fans over here.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And geothermal is rising, right? I know there's a...
there's like a trade organization, Geothermal Rising.
Exactly.
We've got a conference coming up on, I think, every annual
every year?
October. Last year it was in Hawaii.
Nice.
This time it's going to be in Reno.
Oh, that's fun.
We'll shout out there. For sure.
I like Hawaii more, but
I think
Reno's
they're coming
great.
to Houston 2026.
Oh, that'll be cool.
So there you go.
But yeah, like, pun intended, right? Like geothermal's rising, right? In a way, like you're seeing people understand. It's like, okay, we need a lot of energy, and these previous things that we were trying to do are not getting us the kind of energy we need, right? And so, are we just going to revert back to using our coal and oil and gas, right? Power. A lot of people are moving that way, but of course, I think the sustainability and environmentalism has been ingrained in a lot of people that they are starting to look at other options. I think nuclear has lost a lot of the stigma it used to have, and I think that geothermal is offering some really good opportunities there. So I think that you're going to see some increased interest in those things. I actually would go and cite looking at Scott Tinker's talk at the ARC Forum. UT geologist. He spoke at the ARC Forum, the Alliance for Responsible Citizenship, in London just 2 weeks ago, on energy and making energy abundant and how we're going to do that in the right way. In an environmentally sustainable way as well.
What was his takeaway? I mean, he's phenomenal in terms of like the documentaries he's produced and stuff like that. All of his teachings and So what was your major takeaway from?
I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, admittedly.
I get it.
I've been running around these past few weeks. So got a baby on the way, so it's made life
congratulations,
pretty. Thank you very much.
Coming around soon.
Yeah. And so he goes into the technologies that I've kind of already hit on. He goes into the democratization of it, right? The using capitalism to drive innovation, lower costs, right? Increase the technological development in these spaces. Because historically, you look at the nuclear space, it's really hard to innovate, especially in the United States, in that industry, right? It is so regulated.
But how the heck, we're speaking about international partners, how the heck did France just go 100% nuclear and we're kind of fallen to the wayside on that bit. They just had a concerted state country effort on it.
They did, and they didn't fall prey to some of the cultural things that the United States did. Oddly enough, Japan, they've had some cultural issues around nuclear for obvious reasons, given the war. However, they did understand that they needed nuclear power, and so they added it in.
Population,
yeah, sure. and there's still been a lot of give and take in terms of interests and support by the people. But in France, it's been largely supported. There is a vocal minority that's against it, right? That's very, very vocal. But I would say this: if you watch certain things, particularly the 3 Mile Island incident here in the late 70s, at that time, and I'm going to butcher this, so do not quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure there were multiple nuclear reactors that had been approved, were being developed, and were going to come online. And I think there was actually like a strategy to get to some significant percentage of U.S. energy coming from nuclear power, right? And this, so like we've talked about international, right? Now we're kind of going into national, right? And obviously we're talking about nuclear, but
yeah,
I think it pertains to how we look at a lot of tech in general, right? Whether you're looking at space, defense, whatever, how the public perceives it, how the government interacts with it, and how that creates regulations and possibly bottlenecks for development and innovation. And so with nuclear, I think 3 Mile Island happens. President Carter goes out there, and no matter your views on President Carter, the dude was actually a nuclear engineer. And so this was like the one area where if he failed at everything else, like this was what he at least like had knowledge in, right? So like he could at least communicate, and he was trying. He tried his hardest. He went out there. He was in his suit. He wasn't wearing, a biosuit. I do think he put on, like little slippers over his shoes, right? But walked around, did a full tour of 3 Mile Island, talked about how safe it was, and that there had not been, significant radiation leakage, and that it was no threat to the general population. And of course, people just didn't want to believe it. There was so much fear-mongering back then. There is still fear-mongering now. There is false information that is spread about thousands of people across Pennsylvania getting cancer, and that it's from 3 Mile Island. And there has been immense research that has completely debunked that, from private funded to public funded to third-party investigations to international investigations. There's not just one research publication about this. There's a lot, right? And the problem is the American people at the time just didn't want to hear it. They were like, this is bad. This is not good. And then, of course, just 7 years later, you have the Chernobyl disaster. And that kind of was like, well, that's the nail in the coffin.
So let's, for the international component of it, do we just follow best practices and policies and stuff like that pertaining to other countries? And is it as simple as that?
To an extent, I think, yeah.
But it feels like we try that and we do that on the daily. So it's just more so of just maintaining that. But
I think we do, but we put our flavor into it. Yeah. We put our the way that we navigate things into it, right? For instance, we look at education in this country. I'm not going to go too deep into politics or whatever, but you look at education in this country, I think math, we still rank 26, 25. I can't remember the exact number, but we're down there, right? We're not in the top 10, which is sad, right? We should be. You look at Finland, I think they're number 1, right? But they spend 10 times less per capita on education. And so it's not the spending, right? But all the time, from the local all the way to the national level, all you ever hear is we need to increase spending on education. What it comes down to,
in time and time again, it's culture.
It's culture. So you need to, and that's much harder, right? But you need to shift cultures to be able to be accepting or willing to take, not risks, but willing to be innovative, right? The Finns, innovative on education. They have clearly shown that they know how to conduct K through 12 education, top notch.
And whatever is happening in Finland is not going to happen the same, or should be the solution for the United States or
exactly
anywhere else.
Yeah
Just like Silicon Valley and stuff like that. I remember they would have task force from city of Houston and all over the place, trying to duplicate exactly what it is of Silicon Valley to Houston. Or
you can't copy paste something.
No,
right? But you can study it.
Yeah, you can study it, get insight,
and you can see,
intellectual curiosity comes into play,
and then you need to
innovation.
do like ethnography. Essentially, you need to really study your culture. You need to study their culture. You need to see what they've implemented, and that's where you can say like, okay, what elements of what they have would probably fit within our culture, and what wouldn't, right? Because there's probably some facets that just will not, collaborate with the way our culture operates. So then it's like, okay, maybe we need to do something different. I think also we've become somewhat complacent in our culture in this country to not innovate, and I don't even mean that from like a technology standpoint, just not innovate, period, right? Like substantial change in maybe how we handle education, right? Or health or anything. Like it's the answers to these problems normally, what you'll hear now from most politicians and in discussions is like, oh, let's throw more money at it, or oh, let's put someone new in charge. And it's like, it's probably more deep, more structural.
Well,
the problem.
That reminds me of something. So like Dan Golden, for instance, like he was, I saw it on LinkedIn or whatever. Like,
former administrator at NASA.
yeah,
In the 90s.
The United States has steadily decreased their IP and patent filings. So, do you consider that to be a direct correlation on what you're talking about, or indirect, kind of like it's a shift in how the United States is
handling IP?
Maybe? Or just just the cultural shift in terms of like the manufacturing innovative spirit that represents.
These are good questions, because I've actually thought about that question personally. I've never written about it. I've never talked about it with anybody. I don't even think we've talked about this.
No.
So it's actually cool that you've asked that question. When I think about that, and I actually do think about that a lot, because I'm like, what is causing the slowdown? Now, I don't mean just slowdown in like filing patents. That's a data point he's using, and you'd have to do a deep dive into this, because Elon, for instance, he hates patents. He loves trade secrets, or he just loves doing it out in the open and just doing it really fast, doing iterative design and just making it better, right? That's what he talks about. That's what people say that has made Tesla and SpaceX work really well, and it generally has.
Well, sometimes filing for patents too, it's sometimes hard to argue, right?
Exactly.
So
right?
Why spend, especially as an early stage entrepreneur or startup, like why spend $20,000 or X? It's a considerable investment just to get the patent.
And I've had to do that for my companies, right? And was it something I really wanted to do? No. But it was the industry that I was in. I recognized, if I don't do this, I will get my lunch eaten.
Well, and then also VCs don't necessarily take you seriously unless you have some sort of patent pending.
Some sort of asset, right? It's an asset, right? It does actually have some value attached to it, right? Because at that point, if it is something that they can at least confirm that's needed, right, and could be in competition with other companies, but you have the patent on it, that actually makes you worth something, right? And so there are reasons, right, we should have patents, and I think there's just, I don't think they should be like a dime a dozen, right, for every single technology out there, but I do think that they serve certain purposes depending on your technology and your industry. Now, that being said, to your point, right, I don't know if the filing of patents is indicative of people in this country not innovating, but if it is, and I would say that I don't think we're innovating as much as we used to. I think there's a lot. There's two things going on right now. You've probably heard the terms vibe shift, right? I mean, most people know, they've heard vibe shift, but like, over the past 6 months, there's been a lot of talk about vibe shift, right? Like the vibe shift is real. There's like defense tech, is going strong, and like we're America's back kind of thing. And it's
we're always trying to piggyback off something though. We always for the past, like I said, like 10 years ago, whatever, it was Tesla, and then 5 years go by, and then it's Nvidia, and then now it's Palantir. So it's like those long and short term, and it's been progressing to maybe defense, if you were to kind of see that, right?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that there's not a vibe shift. I do think people feel differently. I think people do feel empowered to innovate, and that's a great thing, and I fully support that. I will say though, is obviously true innovation, like true innovation, is not done off of vibe shifts. Okay, it's done off of what's your root like cause, like why are you doing this? Why is it being developed? Why do you need to innovate in here? And that's where, when you look at World War II, you look at the Cold War, and I hate to say things are tied to war, but I mean, there was a moral imperative, right? We actually talked about moral imperatives earlier this morning when we met up. Like, there are moral imperatives involved that you feel that it's not just like profit potential or being able to create something cool because you saw someone else create something cool like SpaceX or Tesla, which is what empowers a lot of people to try to go and create startups, right?
Well, sometimes VCs don't validate a freaking product or a company or startup.
Yeah, they do it off of vibes.
Market
sometimes.
Saturation. Like if they see a lot of the same thing, they're like, "Oh, okay, I need to start throwing money at this."
It's two things.
Which is,
they either see vibes in the sense of like, okay, you're piggybacking off these other technologies, so maybe here's like the supply chain, the pipeline that you're doing.
It's candlestick charting rather than if we're talking about private, like like in brokerage and investments and stuff like that. It's candlestick charting rather than looking at the annual 10K report and going to the balance sheet and looking at certain things.
And that's where like for most companies, if they want to get to the point in which they're actually producing something that is solving a critical problem, that then of course allows them to have potential to profitability, they need to have some kind of thing pushing them to that point. That's somewhat easier to do with SaaS, right? It just is, because you're creating software. It's an easy, like Airbnb or Turo or Uber, right? Like you're answering such an easy problem. I want to stay at a cool house. I want to rent a house. Right, like I would love to do that. I don't want to stay at just a hotel with my friends for my bachelor party. I want to stay at a cool house. Boom, I'm going to go to Airbnb now, right? Like it's the answer is not so complex, right? And you have a large customer base. It's practically everybody, right? Same thing with these other companies. When you get into hardware, and that's where you were talking about, like, are we seeing that shift? And is it going to defense particularly, but just hard tech, right? I think that's where you're getting this yes, but kind of situation where it's like, yes, we are shifting in that direction. Yes, we are having more hard tech developed. That doesn't mean that SaaS is just going to go away. We're always going to have certain needs for certain SaaS, solutions.
Well, and then we're always looking for the all-in-one platform that is far-reaching to
it does it all.
But we never get there.
No, we never get
there. I'm convinced now, after looking at multiple tech stacks, you're never going to have an all-in-one platform.
I agree with you. I don't think that's going to happen. Because I think the thing that happens is that
the integration, I think, component.
Integration, because like there are people that focus so deep into one element, right, of solving a problem for you, that they make such a good solution. But the problem is they're not answer, and then they try to answer these other problems, but it's like subpar compared to them answering that one problem. So it's double down on that and then integrate it, right? Make it super easy to integrate with these other solutions, and then of course you can have your.
That's why you have strategic partnership folks coming through, right?
Right.
Like,
but to that point, I mean, when we're talking about hardware, it's a little different, right? That what we're doing at TerraSpace, you're integrating hardware with software. And in our case, we're doing machine learning. We're doing AI, right? And so
I don't think you get around that. Like any hardware that you're developing nowadays is integrated within software.
Yes.
Is there an example where it's not? I mean, we're not analog anymore. That's like freaking dumb.
No, we're not analog. And I mean, like,
we haven't been analog since the 80s. I mean, if you think about it,
for a lot of things, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, think about our cars and stuff like that, right? Like, we went away from analog. Wow, go.
Yeah,
and everything is digital.
And now you're seeing it's not just like the previous way of doing kind of what TerraSpace is doing was, all the hardware was kind of dispersed, and they all had their separate softwares.
Yeah.
Right.
This microphone has a chip in there.
Yeah.
And I mean, software enabled, right? Like
being
able to pick up certain things. Back in the day, you were freaking having to throw a darn CD-ROM in there and download and install and all that stuff. Now it's all seamlessly integrated.
Yes.
Software, hardware, boom. That needs to happen on the big scale industrially.
Yes, and that's kind of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
We are making one AI piece that can merge the data coming from separate sensors, right, and then doing the analysis instead of having each sensor separately with their separate software and then not really having the best analytical methods. So you're kind of still having to use human subjectivity, right? That's what we're dealing with, right? That's what so many of these other companies are doing. Obviously, it's not exactly what TerraSpace is focused on, and we can get into that, a little bit later. But it's taking hardware, it's integrating it with AI products, AI aligned products. And by the way, I don't really like the term AI because it's overused and misused. But
well, it's just one step further to super intelligence, right?
At some point, like that is AI, right? And that's
I think what we're
that's
at right
true
now is
artificial intelligence. We're at machine learning. We're doing machine learning and
the foundational principles, just like we talk about the space industry with rockets and launch.
Exactly.
Or the foundational principles, large language models and stuff like that, to get us to that point of super.
Yeah, and then and at that point, there's so many beliefs of like, should you do this? Should you not do this? Like, we could go for on and on.
And gosh, like that's a very incredible time to live and be a part of, and I think we're fortunate to witness it, regardless of how it goes down.
There are people that think it could go horribly wrong. I mean,
right? It's like a 50-50 up in the air.
That is, but hey,
you don't know. I mean,
you're going to get to you might be able to see it, right?
Like, depending on how you just treat ChatGPT, like, nice, right? Like, don't it's sometimes frustrating. Sometimes I'm like, no, ChatGPT, you're doing it wrong, or whatever. But
have you ever looked?
That's gonna come bite you later. I know.
It probably will, right? Like, it'll remember who treated it wrong, right?
I'm so sorry. It's too late for you.
We had, in when I was at Thunderbird at ASU, we were in a class one time, and someone said, do you treat AI kindly when you prompt it? And it was like, you know what? That's a good question. And it's like half the class was like, oh yeah, I say please do blank, and I say thank you after it gives me the thing. And then, one person's like, nah, I actually speak down to it all these times. And someone in the class joked and was like, oh, dude, you're the first one to get, like, axed when the robot overlords come and take us all.
I think it's being kind, not nice.
Yeah, exactly right. But have you ever heard of Geoffrey Hinton?
No.
I think he was at the University of Toronto. He might have won the Nobel Prize. I could be wrong. But he was one of the biggest names in artificial intelligence, in development of artificial intelligence, large language models, neural network algorithms, and he is convinced that it could go very south, and he believes that it is very possible, right? And so he talks about it all the time. I'm not saying that I fully agree with the guy, but I would say that check him out, right? Read what he has to say. He is supportive of us not. He knows that the cat's out of the bag. We're developing this kind of technology. He just believes it should be done in a more careful manner. And I'm interested to see what he has to say. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean I'm going to agree with him on everything, but that was the reason why OpenAI was founded, right? I mean, a lot of people talk about that. But
and I mean, like energy usage and demand and stuff like that. With getting to the to that level, we're very close. I mean, I'm not saying it's tomorrow, but
yeah, I mean, we're closer than we've ever been. That's for sure. Yeah.
So like,
same thing with fusion, technology, all sorts of stuff. Like, we are getting closer to things that.
Yeah, and I was talking to somebody last night over dinner about helium-3 and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do we think about that coming into the equation? I mean, thermal vents, capturing that, I feel like our adversaries in China are finding ways in which they can extract it there, but it's just as difficult doing it subsurface in the ocean floor as it is to space.
Yeah.
And we mentioned this last time, but...
Yeah, we did. Helium-3 is one of those things where it's like... When it comes to fusion, right, predominantly, I'm not one of those people that says, like, fusion's going to happen next year.
Fusion comes together, fission breaks apart.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And so fusion, right, we haven't figured out fusion from a controlled reaction in which we can extract energy from.
Mm-hmm.
A
lot of people are trying to do it.
Yes.
Some guy over in Austin doing it.
There are people here in the U.S., there's people in France, people in China. France, I think, had the longest fusion reaction.
9 milliseconds.
What was that?
9 milliseconds.
No, I actually think it was 38.
38 milliseconds?
Yeah, and
when was that?
I believe that was last week.
Wow.
Maybe 2 weeks ago. I can't remember.
There's a group called TAE, Hydrogen Boron Fusion Company. They, I haven't looked at them in a long time, but I think their longest one was 9
Yeah.
milliseconds. What was the name in France?
I can't remember. I know it was a tokamak reactor,
Yeah.
like the vast majority of them. In fact, I think that might be the only design that currently we, as humans, work with. But I say that like there's another species out there. Hey, you
Might
never
be,
know,
dude.
right?
I'm not gonna rule it out.
I'm not going to rule it out either. I don't want to be the guy to be like, oh, yeah, there's no way. And then it happens. And then everybody's looking at me like, oh, yeah, you lied. You know? But no, I mean, fusion is one of those things that I think it's going to happen. Everybody always says, I think it's going to happen.
It's always 15 years away.
It's always 15 years away, right? Now, I think there was a time 50 years ago where people said, oh, it's going to happen in 20, 30, 40 years. And it just was not, right? But with the advent of artificial intelligence
You kinda
models,
have to.
you have to, but you also have the ability to use pattern recognition and neural networks to help you in the process of trying to better engineer these fusion reactors, right? It could be a long time. It could still be 30, 40 years out, okay? It's anybody, trying to do something based solely off of fusion engineering or fusion reactors happening, that's a complete gamble, period, full stop. I mean, anybody telling you that, like, it's going to happen, it's like, sure, maybe at some point, but I don't know if that's going to be, like, in 10 years or it's going to be after I die, right? Like, now, that being said, when you look at the amount of helium-3, and of course everybody talks about helium-3 fusion, right? Because the math has shown that, yes, you could. Now, you'd probably have to change certain elements of the reactor design, so even if we figure out fusion, we're probably still going to have to innovate from there to be able to use helium-3, which, great, I'm sure we can do. I mean, look, if we can figure out fusion, I'm pretty sure we can figure out how to use a different fuel with it, right? So it's all of that's possible. But it's
maintaining the plasma field. Right?
Yes, that's generally the problem, and because of the intense temperatures, maintaining that has become difficult past these time frames that we're already seeing.
Yeah, just
right?
maintaining it, having it go in that freaking circle.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, when you get over Star Trek warp drive.
Yeah, right. And I mean, there's been work that's the thing is some people will look at technologies like this and they'll be like, oh, it's just so far out there, it's just never going to happen. It's like, well,
but once it does, I mean, like, just think about what happened with the freaking cellular phones, man.
Exactly. People said you would not be able to miniaturize certain antenna. Look at us now.
I mean, antenna.
We do, but it's built into the phone.
I got
an
EMF device now to help with the
there you go
radiation,
right?
But it might be on the wrong side of the phone.
Probably.
I don't know.
But I mean, like, being able to connect a satellite to your phone, that's what we're starting to see, right? Like, we're seeing things that people said, oh, well, you need a sat phone for that with a big antenna. It's like, no, maybe.
I still kind of want one, though.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of nice, right?
They're expensive.
That's a good backup.
Yeah.
Things go down, you're good, right? But, helium-3, China, the moon, resources. I actually think that what's going to be interesting is finding out the other resources on the moon. That's going to take subsurface exploration, generally. That's where I think TerraSpace comes in to offer some kinds of solutions. But
what that does to the periodic table and elements and stuff like that is
I mean, it'll be interesting to see, and
a whole new level of understanding.
It'll provide us a lot more information.
I feel like that's the missing component to it, and like if we're shifting kind of from like a international perspective to kind of more of just kind of a granular perspective, maybe here, stateside and stuff like that. That's in my mind something interesting.
Yeah.
Gosh, wait, I lost my train of thought when I was talking about that. But what was it?
Doing subsurface exploration, predominantly on the moon, trying to find out the other kind of
elements and stuff like that. Like that intellectual curiosity, that culture kind of piece that we were talking about earlier. Like, just think about the moment shift in terms of a whole different level of understanding and being able to understand that the things that we have here on Earth, we have a limited understanding. When you have a different vantage point, a different viewpoint, when you're looking downward, not upward, it brings a whole different perspective like every astronaut that goes up talks about like, God, what is it, the overview effect and stuff like that. That's just one example of many that can come to be when you're conducting activities on the lunar surface and finding a new mineral or element that gets thrown into the periodic table, and then you found a new way to freaking create a nanotube. Graphene maybe is completely obsolete now. We've come up, it's just like theoretical.
I mean, things that you just don't know, right? Like the unknown, and some people say like, well, you're probably not going to find that, and it's like, you don't know, right?
You really don't.
You don't know until you go.
Like,
right?
What was it, like in 2023 or something like that? China discovered a new element on the lunar, like.
They discovered a new isotope of something, I can't remember, and then they did discover graphene on the far side of the moon, and that was previously the consensus was that that's not something that would form on the moon, right? And so like that goes to your point of like you're finding out things that you like. The scientific consensus was clearly wrong because there was evidence to say like, well,
that's part of
we
peer
found
review.
it.
That's part of the academic. Like you're supposed to continually challenge and bridge that curiosity and say, no, we're gonna continue forward and we're gonna prove this wrong. Right?
And so like that's one of the driving features.
Einstein was completely ostracized, right, within the academic community way back.
He was, yes. I mean, a multitude of great scientists have been ostracized in certain aspects of their.
Until you are able to simplify the theory into something that a freaking second grader can freaking articulate and understand.
Yeah, pretty much, right? And like that's why when we were developing out our company, it was like, okay, who do we want to work with us? And I did some research, and our good friend Two Fish, Jack Fisher, former astronaut, he works over at Intuitive Machines, got me in connection with Dr. James Riley, who's the former director of the U.S. Geological Survey, 3-time shuttle astronaut. Dude did like underwater, extensive underwater, like I think it was like longer than 30 days or something like that, in deep underwater exploration expeditions. Antarctic expeditions. I mean, the guy like
I would love to do something.
The guy's been at the some of the deepest depths, and he's gone up to the highest heights for humans, right? So it's like he's done it all, right? Great experience. But he's one of those guys who, he looks at it. I mean, he's a scientist. He's a geologist, right? And he understands. He's like, there's unknowns. Flat out. Period. There are unknowns. We do not know things. And we need to stop acting like we know everything, because we just don't. And that's why we need to send stuff out there, collect more information, collect data. That's what TerraSpace wants to do. Of course, we want to do that for actual private customers here on Earth, the mining sector that are searching for things, exploring stuff, both domestically and internationally. But then, of course, when you take that technology and you're like, yeah, I could use this on the moon or some other planetary body, like Mars or an exoplanet. Why not, right? Like, send stuff out there, collect information. It's the same reason why we had Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It's the same reason why we've sent deep space probes. We want to know more. We want to learn. We want to explore. Mm-hmm. And sometimes those have economic factors, right? Maybe we find some major deposit on the moon, subsurface of something that we didn't know that would deposit there anymore. But, all of a sudden, boom, we found it. Hey, that actually could have massive impacts on, certain things. Same with Mars, same with these other planetary bodies. When do you actually extract it, get into the market? That's down the line. That's not necessarily for our company to say, but it'd be good to know.
That's one thing that I think SpaceX and I guess holistically speaking, Elon Musk is relatively good at.
Yeah.
Productizing a solution and being the best at it. And then, I mean, I kind of have a bone to pick because I have a Tesla and insurance. I can't find anyone else to do insurance at a competitive rate. And I mean, no insurance companies just don't want to fucking. They don't I guess it's the risk associated to it, right?
Yeah.
To insuring it. And like you kind of look at somebody like that, and I mean, like, we need him. He's a modern day Rockefeller. But then I'm looking at it, I'm just like, the capitalism, the marketplace, the
the competition,
the competition of it, like,
which I fully support, because at some point, right, and we've talked about this too, at some point you're going to be getting. I'm not saying SpaceX is ever going to become Boeing, right? But it's one of those things where it's like, large institutions that have existed for long periods of time that have become entrenched with either the government itself or just a culture or an industry. I mean, think of it. There's going to be a day where Elon's not on this planet anymore, right? And he's not going to be able to control SpaceX.
Are you talking about he's going to be dead, or are you talking about he's going to be on Mars?
Maybe both of those things, right?
He's gonna die on
he
Mars.
might, yeah. I mean,
Well,
he's said that, right?
Yeah.
He's said that multiple times. So like, maybe he's dead on Mars, right? And they've buried him. They have a monument there, right?
Maybe the U.S. government and people just be like, you know what, just give him what he needs so we can get him off the planet. The people that just
There
don't
might be
agree.
some people that dislike him that might want that,
Like,
right?
yeah, because like then just like go have him do Mars real quick, and it's like.
And then he actually does it, right? Proves him wrong, right? I
Like,
would love
let
to
us
see
have
that.
Earth
That'd be
back,
wild.
please. Like, I don't know.
But it's one of those things, right? Like, at some point, SpaceX is going to be like the Boeing of space.
Well,
and to an extent, that's a good thing. But then, of course, like on the flip side, super long term, we're seeing the problems that Boeing's experiencing, and you're seeing some new entrants into the space, right? So,
and the reason why I say the Rockefeller is, I mean, because everything else that he's doing, the Starlink, the Tesla, the software associated to
integrates
driving,
with each other.
Neuralink, all this stuff. It's super freaking interesting.
It is.
Something to be mindful of in terms of everything that he's got going on.
Yeah, it integrates to each other. There's a bigger puzzle going on.
And like
right?
what happened with Rockefeller when like he got so big, it got broken up, and through BP, Shell, Chevron,
and people that say it's not possible.
I mean, we're seeing
it
it
is
right now.
It happens. I mean, there's never a person who is too big to not, go through something like that. That's just, and the people who believe that there are, well, I mean, maybe you think that he's not truly human, he's something else, right? I don't know. But I would say at the end of the day, like, we're all human. We all have these, I mean, and he has done, I mean, flat out, right? You said he's a Rockefeller, right? He has done something insane, something amazing in our lifetime. When we were younger, right, of course, people all had all these beliefs about we go to the stars. The program for the U.S., right, was the Constellation program under Bush, right? It ended up getting canceled under Obama and refurbished into like the SLS, Space Launch System program. These were government-based programs, probably would have led to boots on the moon and a flags mission, right? So they put it down, salute the flag, and then go home, right? The fact that we've had people, and of course generally led by Elon, as a cultural movement, saying, no, we actually want to go, right, to the moon, and we want to stay, we want to go to Mars, we want to stay, we want to go out, like we want to push humanity out, and of course, do everything we can to make this planet of ours beautiful and safe and great to live on. What's not to like about that from anybody, anywhere from, of course, people
it comes
will
down back to culture.
People will get mixed in.
And the fragmentation of just like there's no room for a diversity of thought in a sense, I don't feel. In terms of just certain echo chambers that you're in. Like, and the people that you thought were above it fall prey to it. Mm-hmm. Right? Like the people that are leading that revolution to go and conquer the stars have also fallen prey to echo chambers, to groupthink, to, and I'm not criticizing them as saying that they're wrong. I actually agree with them on a lot of things. Yeah. Right? Like, so I'm not going to sit here and deny it, but I'm also going to recognize the fact that, there's mob consensus, right, in certain elements. And so, like, that's where it's like, the internet has been a great tool. It's been a great thing. It's, of course, led to the development of artificial intelligence, too, it has amazing features that can benefit a lot of people. It also led to the development of social media. And you could argue that social media is great. I think you could definitely argue that social media is negative for society. You could say, oh, well, it's better than the media who lied to us about all these things. It's like, you're
sure,
come across the same thing.
You're going to come across the same thing in social media.
Community notes
can be weird, manipulated. You also have just mob mentality on the app, right? You say one thing, you get barraged by a bunch of people.
Volume comes into play.
Right? Volume,
and then
yeah.
It discredits it and comes.
And it actually, I mean, you go on social media, half the time you look at stuff and you're like, I don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
I don't know what information is correct. I'm getting information from multiple people.
This recording.
Right? Yeah.
We don't know.
Well, at least we know that we're real, right? You know?
I hope
Are
so.
we real? Are we in a simulation? Is this fake?
We're good.
No, we're real.
So, I mean, the fragmentation of industry in the space component of all, like, okay, so, yeah, walk me through stateside.
Yeah, so, you know, I think that's where you come in and you see...
How do we come together? How, like...
Well, you have, so like that's where you're having, at least in the political side, and we don't need to go too deep into that, but like you're having this sense of like national cohesion, national uncohesion or discohesion, however you want to say that, right? Like you want a country, a people, right, to be as united as possible
while acting autonomously.
And traditionally, that was done under something from an academic term, so don't freak out when you hear this term, but civic nationalism. Now, people will hear nationalism, they're like, oh my God, right? No, arguably, you could literally just put that under you could say that it's a synonym for patriotism. But really what it means is civic nationalism is very different from ethnic nationalism. Civic nationalism focuses on surrounding its people around something like the Constitution. Right, a flag, a common core set of beliefs, right? And
well, I think that's part of the problem too. I mean, like we're debating, you know, religion in schools, and what's our primary religion these days?
Well, yeah,
we're not
right.
A Christian based. Are we a Christian-based country? I don't know. I'm just.
Yeah,
you know
I mean,
like,
you could go into deep conversations about your perspectives on are you or are you not.
But
right?
like what I'm saying is like the consensus in this shift, the vibe shift.
Yes,
I guess.
and that was one of the reasons I will say, just for America's sake, in history, you know, that was a discussion that was being had back then. Are we a Christian nation? That was being discussed. Okay, anybody who says it wasn't, I'm sorry. Go read the primary source materials. Amongst the founders, that was being discussed. Okay, does that mean that we aren't a Christian nation? No, I'm not going to get into that debate. Right. The point is,
but if we're
what were they focused on?
Yeah.
What were they focused on? They were focused on the Constitution itself. The Constitution did not establish a state church, for instance. It didn't say you have to do this or that with religion, right? But it did say we are going to all come together under this set of principles, right? Yeah, arguably, right now in American history, we're not surrounding those principles and saying, you know what, we all agree to this. There are people that have said, you know what, maybe the Constitution doesn't matter. There are elected officials on both sides at the highest levels that have said things like that. Mm-hmm. That's concerning, right? Because that's the one foundational document that when you look at it, you read it, you're like, you know what? I don't want that being changed. Like, I want it to stay there, right? I don't want the Bill of Rights to go away or certain facets of that to go away, right? That is what has generally provided the majority amount of people for freedom.
But you want to appease and...
people want to appease, and then you get into this conversation that creates fragmentation. And so...
But my point, challenging your core beliefs, right?
That is challenging your core beliefs.
You can't have a civic nationalist society in a sense because we are currently kind of in limbo in respect to who the heck are we?
Yeah, right? I mean that's people,
yeah.
and
like
you've
if
had
you think
that
of it as an individual, right?
Yeah, and you've had that from the left and the right kind of come in certain elements and break down, you know, your belief of like who are we, right? Like what do we believe in? What are we? I mean,
I think Texas has a good understanding of who they are.
I think it does, and I think it's a good
biased,
model. But I think that, you know, I mean, we still have political diversity here, right? I mean, yes, the state is overwhelmingly, you know, Republican, but there's still a very large Democratic.
Well, and I mean, I think what you see with like Governor Abbott and his administration, and you know, his time here as governor, it's like, this is how it's been explained to me, right? It's and it's not necessarily like, you know, it's common. You know, he gives weight and power to the different cities within the state of Texas, right? So like,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
not going to come in like, okay, like a lot of people come to me and ask like, oh, like there's a company out here, we should consider it to be in the state of Texas. Like, I'm like, okay, yeah. They want to talk to Abbott. Abbott's not going to.
Abbott's not the guy. Yeah.
No, you are going to have to go to Dallas, Fort Worth. You're going to have to go to Austin, Bastrop, Waller, and you're going to, like, it's up to those economic development organizations in those regions and those cities
Yes.
to compete, right? And I think that that helps with the economic viability and, like, this whole, like, resurgence of, like, Texas, like, we're here and we're here to stay. We're taking the New York Stock Exchange and we're bringing whatever. We're
Yeah,
creating our own.
Right.
Chicago, goodbye. We got it.
Yeah.
Like now we got two.
Well, to that point, right? I think that was a perfect segue from that. You know, we went really high level with the whole civic nationalism stuff. But when you boil it down, we were talking about technological development, advancement, what keeps us cohesive. It's this kind of stuff. You're seeing the opportunity. It provides opportunity to everyone. If it doesn't matter your political background, you want to go create a company in this state, go create a company, do something, right?
Yeah.
Like you want to, embrace, the innovation and the general freedoms that the state offers, the kind of opportunity that it offers. Go for it, right? And it kind of provides that. Whereas if you do a comparison, you look at Texas and you look at the U.S., I would actually say Texas is performing all around better than the entirety of the United States when you put it together, in terms of a multitude of things, cultural cohesion, and I mean, I still think we have a cultural problem in Texas. Don't get me wrong, but when that segues into technological development and whatnot, my point earlier to just wrap up was, if we're not having something that can make that cohesion, right, like internally, it's best to look externally, right? What are the external threats to the United States, to our way of life, to our, that go far beyond this, oh, I'm mad because XYZ in some other state said something on the congressional floor the other day, and now I'm just so pissed off and I don't like them, and screw that whole state, right? You hear stuff like that all the time, right? People will be mad about Texas because a Texas representative said something, or same thing with, and even just amongst peoples and different political views. Problem is adversaries and enemies of the United States, they don't care about that. One, they love the fact that we are not cohesive. They love it, and in fact, they've fed it for years.
Yeah, for speaking frankly, I think, there's certain cases where the United States does the same dang thing.
Against
social
them,
disruption of the fabric of the
yes,
society and a culture.
Yes, but I think,
come in and
to be honest,
create.
I think we're far less effective, and I think we only are effective in it in certain countries that are not nearly as, like, for instance, China and Russia. Their disinformation campaigns on both sides to create social unrest and to break cohesion in our society have been fairly effective. I have seen reports about the United Front organization in China funding far-right groups and far-left groups that were clashing with each other during certain racial tensions in certain cities. Okay, why are they doing that? Clearly they want to divide people, right?
Because if you can't divide people, it comes back to that glue,
Yes.
that moniker.
It makes it very hard.
Challenging the Constitution of the United States in a way of being.
Exactly. And when you look at China and Russia, the way they exist, it is hard automatically for the United States to try to go in there and create social, unrest. It just is. Their systems of government are they have a far larger grip on media, on information. It just is harder. That being said, does the U.S. do it? I'm sure we have. I think we're seeing that right now.
But I think the tactic that you have to go by is just brute force at that rate, right? Like, let's just get back to that whole manufacturing kind of component.
Yes.
Freaking get down and dirty, roll up your sleeves, and freaking get some work done.
But that goes straight into what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
That is where America, no matter your political view, you need to look at the world and understand there are countries out there that do not want to see us being well off. They don't want to
just
see
kind
us
of like a friend, some friends of yours maybe, like, they don't want to see you well off. It's the same, like,
well,
everything
they're
that's
really
happening,
not your friend, but I know what you mean, right?
But like it's the same. Anything geopolitically and macro is always can be drawn an example of micro
in the micro,
and
yeah.
individual.
Yeah.
Same,
It's like,
same stuff.
I care about you. You are a dear friend. I want nothing but the best for you. I want you to succeed.
I don't know
I
why
want
you
you to be
think that.
happy.
I want you to be just awful.
Right? But like, I truly want that for you. So as a friend, it's like, especially when you extrapolate this to the Western world needs to have that mentality across itself. We need to look at each other and be like, I want you to succeed. You want me to succeed. We're in this together, right? But when you look at the way that we're treating each other now, both between the Western world and then within our own countries, we have nothing but
Or states.
states,
I mean, because like,
cities, whatever you want to
there
say.
becomes an ownership bit to it too. Like our drawing from experience with tech space and helping advocate for a Texas Space Commission too.
Who's
right?
in charge?
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
has the
who's in charge?
authority?
Who has
Yeah.
the authority? You really kind of have to bring all those stakeholders across the state to have a say, because what's happening in El Paso is completely different to what's happening down in Corpus Christi or Boca Chica or Houston.
Very
or
different.
Austin.
Very different cultures.
Yeah.
All sorts of, yeah.
Tejanos and Hispanic culture with freaking Oklahoma Sooner culture up in Dallas and Fort Worth and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then hodgepodge of what is Houston and I guess, I don't know, keeping it weird in Austin and Military City, USA, San Antonio.
Yeah.
I mean, Midland.
Very
freaking
different.
Roughnecks. I mean, yeah.
And it makes for an amazing state, right? It makes for an amazing
there's a
place.
bunch of perspective. There's a bunch of industry. There's a bunch of cross pollination and knowledge that can be. I mean, because like again, the geothermal kind of stuff with oil and gas, right? Like being able to pair some of those technological breakthroughs with one another, right? Because geothermal, you're trying to access deeper, further, to tap into different thermal gradients or ways in which you can capture heat.
And so it has cohesion with the
oil
and gas industry.
And then like you have some oil and gas companies. We had somebody over here, Joel Gray, with DTEC, creating these incredible like U-turn wells and stuff like that. I mean, again,
which then might have cross-pollination back into other sectors like
I mean, well, geothermal and stuff like that too, with like the heating and cooling of buildings, and then being help support data centers.
They play
and
off
stuff
each
like
other.
that.
Yeah.
Like all this stuff is interconnected, and you see that within the state of Texas. But then you come across that same thing in the
siloing.
State, the siloing. You then limit that, and then now you have this silo effect,
where you have one group in one silo, you have another in another, and they don't want to.
And
they want to be the owner.
They want to own it. And I think that that's the only flaw with kind of the whole. Let them all compete. But
it's the difference between
because somebody's going to throw weight, right? They're going to be like, I'm the big dog. I'm going to throw weight. I'm going to make sure you.
And that's why we've talked about it. It's that I think we've come up with a word for it. Others have too, but I think it's like coopetition, right? Yeah. Where it's like you're cooperating, but you're also competing with each other, and it creates for a really weird dynamic that I don't think there are the best. Governments, states, they try to do things to foster that
innovation and accelerator hubs.
Yes, I mean, right, like you have opportunities to do it, but in the traditional sense of how it's done, I think sometimes you get conflicts of interest, you get special interests, you get, and it actually goes away from being co-opetition. You get either the big dogs or somebody who had a connection was able to kind of subvert whatever mechanism you're trying to create to foster coopetition, and then of course they kind of ingrain the big dog with the government, right? That happens a lot, right? Well, it just happens a lot, and getting away from that and being able to form kind of mechanisms that provide for coopetition, I think these are actually more democratized and less centralized things under the government. Would actually help with technological development. I think everybody's looking at the government nationally, statewide, to like, give me the North Star.
Give me an accelerator, give me an incubator, let me use that as a way to innovate and have some technological breakthroughs, defensive innovation unit or whatever. But really, it's like, let me have the infrastructure and the capability and the research center and stuff like that. We don't need the incubator accelerator thing per se. Like, yeah, it's helpful and it's nice to have a program.
It could be, yeah.
But like, you can also put that thing to use and like, let's draw from past experience again, right? Where it's like, you had that Starcom relocation or whatever, Was it StarCom?
Yeah, for the Space Force.
Yeah, and
Space Training and Readiness Command.
how freaking awesome would it have been just the state of Texas throw some money down and have a dual city bid and have the freaking HQ be in San Antonio and all the deltas spread around the state and maybe predominantly in Houston, be it space.
And what would have been interesting is if the state said, you know what, we're going to build your facilities for you.
Yeah.
Right, and you can just move in, right?
Yeah.
Which is
you don't need an accelerator at that point.
Yeah, that's
because
different.
You got federal funding coming through. You got freaking entrepreneurs, startups, intuitive machines, all these freaking companies coming about in the existing ecosystem, and then companies that want to come to state because now you have that infrastructure in place. So you don't need the program of.
Yeah, it's models like that, right? It's models like that might help you foster outside thinking that can then spur the technology and the development that kind of upsets the general uncohesiveness of your community, right? That provides for opportunity to get your entrepreneurs or your even larger firms to be more innovative, to have the drive to solve the problem that Dan Golden mentioned of why are we having as much IP developed? Like, what's, are we not as productive? It can help spur on production, but it needs to be done carefully. It needs to be done with much, much purpose, and it does not need to be lip service or a kind of a mechanism that just kind of pushes through things just to, one, make itself feel good, possibly, or benefit the big dogs in the room. Right?
Well, and I mean, I would have just drawn back to the StarCom thing, the relocation basing action, strategic basing action, or whatever. I mean, was it Representative Babin went to plate on that, challenging SecF.
Yeah, well, I mean, yes. So he led that letter, but it was actually both the senators, the entire congressional delegation,
bipartisan address to the Secretary of Kendall Air Force, being like, "Hey, we want an opportunity.
Yeah, we want an opportunity.
We don't have it,
and that's
46 other states don't either."
That's the other kind of uncohesiveness in the country, right? When a bipartisan group of lawmakers ask the Secretary of the Air Force, "Hey, can we have an opportunity to
just an opportunity to bid?"
Right?
Yeah,
and then the Secretary of the Air Force pretty much doesn't communicate with them or doesn't do it publicly or like doesn't let anybody know.
And then a month later goes by, and then
it creates continued belief, and I wouldn't say that it's I wouldn't say that the general population is following this, but those who do follow continue to get the sense of like, oh, okay, one, you don't want to work together. Two, you're either self-interested or you're just not interested in like providing opportunity for the rest of the country to be involved in things like possibly the Space Force, and it creates this sense of like we're being left out. We're not being involved, right? And like that creates.
That's the worst feeling as an individual, not just.
That's a worse feeling,
right? Like
especially if you've done a lot of work.
Yeah, if you're not being awarded, or you don't have the proper compensation or something of that nature. Like you want to feel like you're doing your part, right? I think a lot of people want to feel valued and mission driven. I think especially now more than ever, right? So when they're kind of thrown under the bus like that, it's just like kind of a slap across the face. And then like a fun little bit, right? Which is like the EVTOL thing. If that dual city bid were to come into play, EVTOL's now, it's here. I think so. Do you have Space Force?
Yeah. I mean, you have the opportunity to be able to go
because they're going to want to have their cadets and officers and all that stuff coming through from Houston to San Antonio if they have deltas and an HQ and stuff like that in Austin or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you think so? Or
if infrastructure makes it easier to travel between two cities, whether it's EVTOL or it's like super high speed rail, or Hyperloop or whatever you want to say.
We tried to do the high speed rail for.
I highly doubt it's going to happen.
I mean, like you have the landowner permission on it, so EVTOL makes so much more sense. It's just like
it does.
You fly, and now you just need FAA.
Needless to say, if there is some kind of faster travel between cities, whether it's in Texas or somewhere else. Yeah, you will see the opportunity for collaboration across industries, the military, whatever, increase because of speed of connections and being able to physically meet each other. That matters a lot. That goes far. Mm-hmm. So, I think that investing in technologies that bring us closer like that would be good. The point is to not shut ourselves in. What I mean by that is, like, let's not get so enamored with technological capabilities that we forget what it means to be human, and we forget our natural surroundings, and we don't sometimes it's like the internet, right? Like the internet was great. It connected us, but it's also like how busier are our lives because the internet exists, right? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be busy and we shouldn't be productive. We absolutely should be. But, let's not, and I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but I'm just trying to, say that technology has the opportunity to do a lot of these things, right? But it's also one of those things that we should not use to hurt the human experience, because I think that is what also contributes to the general societal issues that we've discussed today. You know what I mean? I think that actually contributes. I mean, like, for instance, social media, right? Like, that creates. I'm pretty sure social media has been one of the primary drivers of anxiety increase in this country. Depression, probably.
Well, I mean, you just go in the other room and get some light therapy. We have all these little biohacking tools, and
right. The water.
Yeah, the water. I mean, you tried that out. You haven't tried
the
light therapy out, but again, there's innovation and technologies that can be introduced to combat some of this stuff.
There is, yes.
Or not combat, but heal.
Yeah,
that's a better word. All right. I mean, we've gone on some tangents, and
we have.
So, I mean, like, all right, terror space, as we kind of round everything out and just kind of put a closed bow on it. Like, last time we were talking, you got a couple, I think you had a couple of LOIs kind of coming up through. You were in the middle of fundraising. I think still are.
We are, yeah. So that was in the middle of the election, and that was a horrible time to try to fundraise.
Yeah. So
as you can imagine.
now?
But it's been good. We've gotten some really, really good leads, and it looks like we're going to be able to close this out by the summer, I think. So it's looking pretty strong there. The technology's been further developed, so we have convolutional neural networks that we've developed out that are giving us really, really good feedback, and it seems that we've just further confirmed that the samples that we've done testing with are up to par and can compete in the marketplace with existing labs. And so we've gotten more connections with potential customers. We've gotten more partners. We've done a lot of work to get this going, and it's really interesting seeing what the capability offers. It's something that is not offered anywhere else, and that's just on-site mineral analysis. Like, if I have to, if you didn't see the previous talk, TerraSpace, essentially we develop platforms, both large-scale conveyor belt systems and then also downhole systems that do automated mineral analysis using AI. And so for the mining industry, what that does is you can test to understand the ore body that a mine is trying to develop and extract the ore. And we can look at mineral characterization and a bunch of different things, lithography, mineralogy, elementology, so on and so forth. What's great about that is being able to take that and actually put it off planet on something like the moon, Mars. We can do subsurface exploration and actually send that data back. The algorithm can do a lot of the analysis, and then that actually enables us to understand a lot more about the subsurface areas that we're exploring off planet, right? And so what's great about that is that's just further exploration. And so what we've been able to do is develop that out. Looks like it's pretty beefed up now.
Awesome.
And hopefully we can get it out there in the marketplace here in this next few quarters.
Oh man, looks like I have a low battery warning on my thing. Just want to be careful about that.
Yep.
Talk to me about there was another competitor out there that was developing like asteroid mining solution and stuff like that, and it looked like a honeybee or something like that. What was it called?
There is honeybee. I wouldn't call them a competitor.
Okay.
I'd actually call them a pretty potential partner
Okay.
of ours. They've developed out drills and exploration equipment in which they can use on the moon or other planets, other planetary bodies as well. I know they also offer solutions to some other companies in the mining and even the space arena. So yeah, that's a potential partner. Our direct competitors, there's a couple out there, but they don't develop nearly the same kind of readouts that we do. So they don't use the exact same sensors and try to get the full spectrum that we try to attack.
Okay. And I mean, like, one thing is you define TerraSpace like AI software solution. I thought you didn't like to use AI.
I don't, but I've noticed that a lot of people are just like, they just don't understand machine learning and neural networks as well, and so you just kind of got to use AI.
I was just going to challenge you there a little bit.
Yeah, it's okay. It still bugs me.
I get it, but you have to say it. And then, God, what was it? I mean, I feel like some VCs would approach you and you'd be like, have customers, or you need to get a customer first. You have LOIs in place, right? But like you are a prime example of, in my mind, of a hardware company bootstrapped trying to develop out a piece of technology. I mean, like, you're kind of in a catch-22, right? Like, you can only do so much with software development to a point in which you've put all this work into it, and now you need to sync, and you're able to sync hardware, but you're like, right? But getting that to a point in which you can package it for a customer
takes capital,
and that's tough.
It's tough, yeah.
Right, and then proving that out with VCs, and I mean, I guess like a VC like Y Combinator that's getting some flack as of recently. That might be a conversation.
Last 48 hours, yeah, maybe.
Again, it's the 26th of February. Like, walk me through that. Like, how's that? That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it can be tough, right? Because I mean, there's a lot of investors out there who are like, well, why haven't you deployed on site? And it's like, well, because we need some of these sensors, right? And they're like, well, how do you get the sensors? And it's like, it's expensive, right? And they're like, well, how have you tested it as of yet? And it's like, well, the great thing about this is other companies have logged core, right? We can just use that raw data and then see if our algorithm's holding up to what their labs have shown, right? And you train. And so it's like we're using these sensors without having these sensors in our facility, right? Because the sensors have already collected the data, right? So the sensor, I like to put it in an analogy. If you're looking at a plate, right, with food on it, and you're sitting in front of it, and you got a fork, right? The sensor is the fork. It takes the food, which is the data, and puts it into the algorithm, which is your taste buds, your mouth, right? Yep. It's a tool. It's an expensive one, right? But it's just a tool. It's not doing something far unique or being able to. The fork itself does not taste all those different flavors. That's the algorithm, right? And so that's kind of how I look at it and try to explain it to people. Is that the algorithm, the taste buds, we've developed that. That's the novel technology here. It's the fork, the utensils that we just need to get in house, and it's resonated, especially recently. It's resonated. That's why I think that we've had some really great traction. And hopefully, the next time I'm on, I can actually show you some equipment. Maybe, in fact, you might have to come out and visit us.
I've been wanting to do a road show or like take this somewhere and show some cool stuff.
And then we can show you some real cool stuff. Right now, it's our computers and our algorithms, and that's not as fancy.
No, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think? I mean, is there anything to have a Gallant conversation about at this point? I mean,
yeah, we just knocked it out. We just like big bow wrapped it around.
Gallantly had a conversation over here about.
We've talked about it all.
What? Yeah.
I think the only thing we haven't gotten into is the creation of the universe and God and things like that. But we could totally do that sometime.
We can figure that one out next time, sure.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, Eric, if somebody's interested in reaching out, I mean,
terraspace.com. You can hit me up at eSundeby at terraspace.com. And you can also reach out to Gallant, good friends of ours. LinkedIn, you can check us out on LinkedIn.
You can throw something in the comments if you got a question. Maybe we can field that as well.
Of course.
And then, I mean, it'd be really interesting. I really want to, I can't say who. I would have loved to have them here today. But we need to get somebody else.
A good friend of ours.
Yeah. Just to kind of add a certain level of perspective in terms of what you're trying to do, both terrestrially here on Earth and then celestially on another terrestrial body on the moon.
There you go.
And Mars.
Yeah.
But we'll save that to another day.
Absolutely.
But dude, always a pleasure to have you over here in Houston. You always
Thanks,
got
James.
a place to stay and hang out. But yeah, man, until next time.
Yeah. Thanks,
sure.
man. Thanks for having me on.